welcome to the PixelFit tutorial. In this tutorial, we're going to go through how to set up the PixelFit system as well as parts and pieces. It's really not that complicated, but there's a couple of little things that are procedural that you'll want to get down. So in order to use the PixelFit system, which is a fully retrofit RGBW pixel system. So it's not like some where it's going to be all a solid color with some sparkles maybe. It is individually addressable by the controller. So it's, you're capable of motion effects that'll start at one end of the building and work their way all the way down. It's a very cool effect and very unique. So the first piece to the system is going to be the controller. It is a 24-volt controller. It will have DC power in on one side, and then what looks to be an AC plug on the other. This is DC at this point. However, this is just so that you don't have to change any of the plugs or anything in your existing cabling and wiring system. It does come with this handy-dandy little clicky remote. You will need two AAA batteries for it, so don't forget that, but otherwise it comes ready to go. This is the only thing that you'll need to interact with the PixelFit system in terms of setup and usage. So pretty slick. So this will come together as one SKU. The other part to this is the 24-volt power supply, which it's a nice mean-well power supply. It's going to have the same 2-pin power connector on that end, and then it'll plug into your AC timer or wall outlet or whatever you need to with that one. So that's the two parts to that system, and then of course there's the bulbs themselves. The bulbs themselves are going to come in a 25 light package. You'll notice big yellow sticker on here that says it's 24 volts. Do not plug into 120 volts AC. Two things are going to happen if you do. One, your lights are going to die immediately. And for two, you're going to end up on our wall of shame at the office. So please, nobody wants that. So anyway, they'll come 25 in a bag. They look like this. Very typical, try not to drop it, a very typical C9 light bulb shape, but you'll notice based on the shape that it's not made by those guys and it's not made by the other guys either. So they're not color-coded, they're not addressed previously. That is something that will happen in our installation process. So typical C9 bulb. So let's go ahead and we'll take a look at setting up the controller. We're going to start by hooking up the DC power supply to the controller. So we're going to take our 2-pin ends on each of them. They are keyed, so they will only fit in one direction. And snug that up. Now before installing any light bulbs, you're going to want to take your stringer and you are going to get the plug situated. Double check to make sure that your plugs are installed right. And I know some of you are looking at me going, what? Because, you just throw them on there however which way. That is not correct. Technically, you'll notice that one of these has a ridge to it where the other one is smooth. The ridged one should always be pierced by the fat blade of the plug. So your female ends will go on accordingly, the fat slot to the ribbed section. If you have these backwards in some, it will cause issues because DC has a polarity. So just go ahead, double check, make sure that your ridged is going to your fat, and then go ahead, plug that in. At this point, some of our installers like to tape them or zip tie them so that this cannot be separated and you can't accidentally plug it in the next step. Otherwise, make sure these do not get plugged into 120 volts AC. So now we're going to go ahead and show you the individual PixelFit addressing process. Let's just take a quick look at the remote here for a sec. The red button at the top is your power, you're on, you're off. The match you'll only use for pairing the controller to the remote. Your code button in the upper left to start your addressing sequence. If you stop the addressing sequence, you need to start again. That's the add code button to the right. There's the replace button, which is a really cool feature. If you've got a bulb that's just not quite right for some reason, you need to replace them, we'll use that button to automatically get the new bulb the address that it belongs to. The quantity button in the bottom right there, that is to help tell the controller how many bulbs are in that linear string. Down below, we've got the speed, direction, and code fix. The speed, pretty obvious. There's a couple of different speeds if you want faster or slower on the effect. And the direction is the direction of travel. So if the effect is moving from the controller outward and you want it to go the other way, you can hit that direction button and it'll go out to controller. Then the remaining 1 through 6 and 0 at the bottom are like a favorites list. You can press and hold and it will memorize that particular color palette and the effect, and it'll save it to that button so that you can just push the button for a quick recall. So again, we tried to keep the remote very basic, very simple. The center circular selection, you can scroll through the effects by going up and down, or the colors by going left and right. Okay, so now we'll show you how to pair the remote to the controller. You can pair multiple controllers to one remote if you need to, which is kind of cool. So we're just going to take a random bulb out of our bag and put it in the first socket connected to the controller. I'll toss that aside. Now comes the tricky part. You got to kind of hold the power and this button in. So you're going to hold the match button down. You're going to apply power to it. It's going to blink around a little bit. It's going to give you a green blink. You can take your finger off of the match button and then hit the OK button. That should indicate that you now paired this remote to this controller. So now we're ready to start adding bulbs. Okay, so we have our remote paired. We've got our one bulb in. Now we're going to go ahead and enter the code mode by pressing the code button. You'll see the bulb kind of do a dimmer white color. Then we're going to target the bulb on the little remote where it says touch bulb here. We're going to hit code again. You see how the bulb turns yellow? That means we're ready to go on to our next bulb. So grab one of your other loose bulbs, screw that into the next socket. You'll see it change colors. And when it becomes yellow, you're ready to screw in the next one. Now this is a little bit different than the previous version. You see how this one went to a dim purple? It's now going to alternate between green and purple as you screw bulbs in, so that you know if you accidentally screwed up an order, it'll tell you by having two double colors next to each other. So we'll screw in this one. It's going to do the same thing. It switches around, goes to yellow. Now we've got the green, purple, green. So it should maintain that green, purple all the way down. Usually what I like doing too is double checking to make sure that everything is fine. This new color coding structure helps, but every once in a while I just like to check it. If you press the OK button and you pick an effect, you should see them all respond to the effect in the way you'd expect. So they're all individually controlled at this point. And if we want to continue addressing, we're going to use the add code button on the right-hand side there. You'll see them dim down again, and then we're going to go to the last bulb, and we're going to target the last bulb. Hit that add code button again. It goes yellow. Then we'll be able to grab the next string in the slot and screw in the bulb. So that's basically going to pick up right where we left off, and it's going to go back to doing that same color code. Don't worry about these other earlier bulbs. They're probably not going to change color, but it should from the point at which you started the add code. So we're going to hit the OK button again. If these are all of our bulbs, the last thing we need to do is tell it how many are in that string. There is the quantity button in the bottom right corner. So we're going to press quantity. It's going to go to that dim white mode again. We're going to target just the last bulb, hit it, and you see that bulb go blue. Once that bulb is blue, it knows exactly how many lights are in that string. We're going to go ahead and hit OK, and it's going to go back into normal operation. And just because no house is like a straight, long, linear line, there's always dormers or second stories or things like that. We'll show you how you're going to use this product in that sort of capacity. So on the screen, I have this horribly AI-generated abomination of a house, but it'll serve our purposes.
So we're going to go ahead and you're going to run out your entire first floor line of bulbs. So something like this. Then where you would put your inline female, you're going to go ahead and do that. So in this instance, I got it between the third and fourth bulbs here. We're going to take our trusty remote and we are going to use the EQ button to enter the additional programming mode. The bulbs will kind of do that fade to a darker blue color. Then we are going to touch the bulb before the split to the remote itself and then hit that button again. And that bulb will turn yellow. When that turns yellow, it's going to accept additional bulbs to be programmed with a number after that one. So in this instance, this is where we would jump up to that peak and we would pop that bulb in there. When you screw that bulb in there, remember the first color it turns is white, then red, then yellow, and that bulb before it will go green. And then from there, you'll just be able to continue just like you did before. Screw it in, it changes to white, changes to red, changes to yellow. When it hits yellow, plug in your next bulb. Go all the way through that run, and then when you're done with it, hit the OK play pause button in the middle, and that'll terminate that run and it'll return you to your ability to run effects and programs. So again, a fairly simple process. You just create that split by telling it the bulb ahead of it and then let it count up. So in this instance, like bulb 4 and the first one and that upper peak are going to act the same. So any motion effects and things will transition in the same direction. So works out pretty well.
So we get this question a lot. What happens when one of these bulbs decides not to work? Do you have to go back and readdress everything? The answer to that is no. So if this bulb's having a bad day, we take him out of here. We get rid of him. We grab a new bulb from the bag. We screw that one in. See how that one's a different color because it has no idea what it's doing? So we can use the bulb replace. You'll notice when you click it once, it locks into that color. Click it again. It'll color change. When it's good to go, like this, you'll hit the OK button, and then it'll go back to the correct patterns and things. So that is all you have to do if you need to replace a bulb.